सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनामधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Om Shri Sai Ram, offering our collective salutations at the lotus feet of Sadguru Shri Madhusudan Sai, founder of Shri Satya Sai University for Human Excellence. My greetings to University Leadership Board members, professors, staff, and all my dear loving brothers and sisters joining from various campuses. Among the various palettes available in the university across all the streams, Words of Wisdom is one such platform where people from different walks of life come and share their experiences. As we engage here, a lot of people who are still hoping for an opportunity to have a better living. A child who is asked to labor is dreaming to be able to access the education to carve a better future. Many see it, some feel pity, but very few do something about it. For the benefit of our students, Dr. Gayathri Vasudevan is the chairperson of LabourNet Service and Chief Impact Officer of Samba Foundation. She has completed her doctorate in philosophy and developmental studies with over 30 publications in area of labor, employment, and gender issues. She co-founded LabourNet Services with a vision to make livelihood and enhance quality of life through education, employability, and entrepreneurship. LabourNet has scaled up very fast as today it is present in 450 locations across India and has impacted more than 3 lakhs individuals in 15 different sectors. LabourNet model has been widely acclaimed not only for the profitability but for having reached so many people out there. Ma'am has also worked with various multilateral and bilateral institutions, including UNICEF, UNDP, and UNESCO. Gayatri ji has held several advisory posts in the government, including Chairwoman of Indian Women Networking, Southern Regional Council, Karnataka, member of BOCW, Government of Haryana. Presently, she is also member of Rashtriya Mahila Kosha and CII, the National Skill Committee and National Sports Committee. Ma'am has been recognized as one among the 50 most powerful women in business in India. She is awarded Entrepreneurship with Social Impact Award in 2018 by Forbes, and list goes on. Today, Ma'am will be addressing all of us on the topic skill gap in rural India. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the very kind introduction. And it's really nice to see the classroom filled with so many girls and women here. Are you comfortable if I speak in English, or would you like me to speak in Kannada?
We are comfortable, ma'am. We're comfortable with English.
So I want to sort of step back and understand, when we say rural India, what do we mean? I think that's the first thing that that we should all discuss. When we think of rural India, do we think of a village which is close to Bangalore? Do we think of a village in a district which is far away, like in Bidar or in Vijaypura, or for that matter in Mandya? I think it matters. Is it close to the city? Is it far away? If it is close to the city, what does it mean? And when we look at rural India, what is the thing that tells us, right? First is, in villages, there don't seem to be any jobs. So for jobs, everybody is moving out of villages. Now, this is a double-edged sword. If everybody moves out of the village, then what happens to the village itself? What happens to the city? So India is a classic case where we have a very high migration rate. People are coming into cities, smaller towns are becoming bigger cities. You'll see this as a pattern which is happening. So when this happens, then you have all the problems, right? You don't have housing in the cities, houses are becoming smaller, slums are happening, cities are getting congested. It becomes a you versus me. People have come from outside, they are occupying. These are the problems which happen in the urban India, because we are not creating sufficient jobs in the rural area. Now, in my opinion, there are two things which we need to take into account. It is not like rural India does not have jobs. One has to creatively create jobs. And I'll tell you what I mean by that, right? What are the things that rural India does not have? It does not have electricity consistently. It does not have water consistently. Roads are not well formed. So if any outsourcing work has to be given, whether it is data driven, whether it is electronics, tailoring, it doesn't matter. Rural India doesn't have the infrastructure to deliver that work. And therefore, all the work is being centralized in some or the form of urban cities. That means only when urbanization happens is services available. So to me, when I look at it, that paradigm has to change. We have to change that paradigm where we are able to say access to infrastructure, access to establishment is available in rural India in order for us to be able to cater to rural populations. By that, young people will not have to migrate to cities. Young people will find jobs locally. Now, let me take a practical example and explain to you this. One, many of you may have heard of the Jal Mission schemes, right? The Jal Jeevan Mission schemes, that is water for all. That means for every household in a village, there is a scheme which is there, which will ensure water is available at every household, which means pipes have to be put and connected from the tank to the pipes. This urban water supply design has been taken and we have adapted it to be in rural areas. Sorry. However, do the rural populations, who are the people who come and put these piping systems? These pipes are being put by people from outside. We are not skilling local plumbers, local women, local boys to be the plumbers to do this, because the plumbing that we're teaching is very basic, even if it is there. It's not being taught is one. Where it's being taught, it's very basic, which means at all times you're taking people from outside in order for you to satisfy a service need. And that is where I'm coming from, is that skill sets, when we say have to be in rural areas, in my opinion, the key thing that has to be done is we have to look to see what services does the rural area need, and therefore can we skill enough people to be competent to do it in the rural area, and you don't have to migrate a set of people who come from rural to urban to go back to rural to do it, to go to another rural area. So we are creating just pathways without actually solving for rural employment issue. Rural skills is related to rural employment. And that's the only way in which the villages will have young people in villages. Today, most villages, young men are not there. Many young women are also moving out. But definitely young boys and young men, our youth are not staying in the villages because they don't see the a future for themselves. Similarly, today we say a lot of work can be done from home. The whole gig work available in the data imaging sectors, data analytics sectors, etc. But the infrastructure is required, which means we need a set of people to believe that these infrastructure have to be rural. The services need to be satisfied at the rural area. So the two main areas is, if we create infrastructure, my premise is that more and more young people will remain in the villages to serve the villages. Which is like this, let's put down which are the areas in which skills are required, right? Healthcare. Clearly, you need services in the rural area. Clearly, most people, if they have requirement for tertiary care, have to come to hospitals. But a lot of preventive care can be done in the villages. But preventive care is today left to a very thin population of ASHA and A&M workers and Anganwadi workers. Now, this group of workers are ASHA and Anganwadi workers are volunteer workers. What if we're able to create services which are paid services, which I'm sure many rural populations will be willing to pay, which means that more and more women can get employed to actually take it forward. Our healthcare is verticalized. What if we are able to create a sort of collaborative healthcare? Now, I see a lot of young boys on my screen now. Earlier, I was seeing only women on the screen. But if you look at it, a family consists of men, women, young boys, old people, and young. All require services. The key point I'm making is, why are we not creating markets for young people to remain in rural areas and therefore creating skill sets? I know I'm speaking over a forum here. I don't know how easy it is for you to, for me and you to talk, but I'd like us to talk. So if any one of you can put up your hands, and let's spend the next 5-10 minutes talking about what services are required in rural areas and how, if necessary, can we create those services. Okay, I don't want to be only talking. I'd like to hear your views on it. So anybody can come to the mic or near your computer or laptop. Could you just tell me each of the classrooms? I can see 4 classrooms on my screen. If at least 2 people from each classroom can come to the laptop or the mic and tell me which service do you think is needed in the rural area for which we have to build skills. Anybody? 4 classrooms, 2 people, please. Possible?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
go ahead.
And by the time I conclude, I hope brothers and sisters will be coping up. A problem is getting access to education in rural India. Even though government is encouraging rural Indian education, if someone not getting into the rural children, the parents difficult to send it to work or labor so that they are able to earn some students. So I think this will be one of the main problems. And second thing is employment, because there is a lot of problem in the villages. Students from rural areas will migrate to towns, so which is leaving village undeveloped, where all the resources
stay with that. Yes, stay with that thought. Stay with that thought. If we were to solve for education as a problem,
yes, ma'am.
Assuming government is putting its efforts, what are the things that we can bring to solve education as a problem? That means education in an urban area and rural area have to be equal. That today, given technology availability, right? We have technology availability today. How do we reach it, and how do you reach good teachers to schools in a hybrid modality? You and me are speaking in hybrid modalities. That's where I was saying, right? First, what do we require? We need electricians, we need computer hardware people, software people to fix our internet connections in rural areas. fix our electricity problems in rural areas, so that wherever you are, you're able to teach a first standard student. If immediately you can't move people there, you have to slowly entice people to start interacting with rural areas. That's what I mean. Today, you know, Vedantu, there are Byju's, there are all these platforms which are saying I'll give tuitions, but they're giving it to an urban upper middle class. What if we are able to create services? It can be play school services. It can be play school services. What I mean is 0 to 6 years. No, to increase the Anganwadi, can we create book rooms? Can we create reading rooms? For all of this, we can charge a small fee. I'm not saying everything has to be given free of cost. Charge a small fee and start doing work which is relevant for the rural area. Absolutely good point, Yatish. So education itself, between 0 to 6, between 6 to 10, between 10 to 14 and higher, imagine the number of jobs which it can create. For a minute, look at one Gram Panchayat. Anybody wants to tell me, or Yatish, you could tell me, how many villages will be in a Gram Panchayat? How many hamlets will be there?
Oh, no, ma'am.
See, very interesting, okay? A small Gram Panchayat may have anywhere between 4 to 5 hamlets, or what you call revenue villages. Okay, now that means you're having populations of 5,000 to 10,000. In a population of 5,000 to 10,000, a big village will have 10,000, 13,000. Small village will have 5,000. Okay, I'm talking Gram Panchayat now. Yes. Which means, like, let's just put bad calculation, divide by 4. Every family has 4 to 5 people. That means you have at least 500 to 250 to 500 children. Correct? 250 yes, to 500 children need to be taught.
Yes, ma'am.
And need to be taught good education, not bad education. That means they need early child care, they need primary school care, they need middle school care, they need holistic learning, all of this. Imagine the number of jobs which can be created by catering to this group. Each hamlet, you could create at least 1 to 2 jobs. Right? Yes, so yes. In a Gram Panchayat, if you can create those jobs. Now, in order for school to function, whether it's offline, online, blended, I don't believe in complete offline. Huh? I believe you need physical. So you need a blended. I'm old school. I like to see things happening face to face also. And I think learning happens face to face. If that has to happen, education alone will create jobs for electricians, will create jobs because you have to keep your blackboard clean, classroom has to be painted, civil work has to be done, and your electronics, that is your laptop, your desktop, phone, etc. has to be done. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So that means one Gram Panchayat can create 10 to 15 jobs on education. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Now, take the same to healthcare. Now, in healthcare, what happens if somebody is old? Assume it happens, right? Somebody is old, somebody's got arthritis. Where will they go? Can they sit on the toilet and ground? Simple problem I'm asking, right? You all are all very young students. But you have grandparents, you have great-grandparents. You'll see these problems. Right? So look at each solution. Where I'm coming from is skill is a horizontal. We have to create skills to create jobs. Jobs will come when skills are there. So it's a circle. So the circle we have to fulfill. Right? I've not even touched agriculture yet. I'm only talking services now. I'm talking services, which is education, which is healthcare, which can create jobs. Care economy, by all estimations, will be the highest job creator in future. Right? So this is one example. Anyone else can give me one other sector where we can go deep and see what jobs can be created and what skills are needed? Anyone?
Vocational training.
Sorry?
Vocational training.
Vocational training for what?
Tailoring.
Tell me vocational training for what?
For tailoring, crafts making.
Okay, let me put it differently, okay? Why are you thinking vocational training is only tailoring and craft making?
It is more than that.
Yes. So why are you not thinking road making is vocational training? Think roads have to be, are rural roads good? Why? Think, don't, vocational training is not only, not education. Where I'm coming from is, what are you all studying? Tell me what subjects you're all studying? So science, is it? What did you say? Science, okay. BSc, you're doing BSc. BSc, BCom you're doing. An that what you said? Okay. Now, tell me how many of you in BSc have an opportunity to work in a rural area? If your vocational skills has to be in rural area, is there opportunity? No. What jobs can you take in rural areas? Sorry? Can you repeat it? Teaching. Okay, then? What is the other jobs? Which means you can take a set of jobs. People who have done BSc can take a set of jobs in rural areas. Soil testing, you can be skill trained. You can take vocational training to understand how to do soil testing, how to do water testing. Today, COVID, you can find out by looking at wastewater. You get where I'm coming from? Today, if you look at the papers, just take a look at papers about the last 5 days. There is water surveillance, which allows us to understand if COVID is there or not. So, vocational training is not tailoring and handicraft. Vocational training is even for you. So, if some of you want to go and work in rural areas, you can easily create jobs for it. You have to see, imagine if you're able to surveillance all the wastewater. Some of you can get jobs in doing that surveillance. Create models where you'll have teaching, you said. How do you upgrade yourself? For example, are you able to do, as well as your education, can you do welding? Welding is a vocational trade, right? A fabricator is a vocational trade. Do you know, when you lay a road, you can use a lot of waste. Plastics can be used. Waste segregation you can think through and then create pellets as science students and pave your roads. Don't always think vocational training means tailoring and artisan work for women, electrician and plumber and welding for boys. Don't think like that. Think of what, as young people, if you have a skill set, can you create rural jobs and therefore you can take it forward. Now you can disagree with me, huh? You don't have to agree with everything I say. So if somebody feels it's not possible, I want to hear one person tell me what I'm saying is wrong and it's not possible. Debate with me. Go ahead, any one of you from any classroom, debate with me and tell me why I am wrong. Why what I'm saying is not possible and vocational training is different from education. Anyone? Come on, one person. Who's going to say? Unmute yourself. Come.
I think all are very convinced with the idea.
No, I want an argument. Then only we'll get it right. Argue with me. You argue with your parents and teachers, no? In your outside your classroom, you're all not so silent and listening, right? Argue with me. Tell me why I'm wrong. Think this is a UN model assembly. Now I have given you the thing saying we cannot have vocational training is different from education and skills are not required. Argue with me.
Well, vocational training, I disagree, ma'am, because for women, I think so that raw materials are easily available at home, one thing, and because of the hypocritic mindset of the village people, they won't allow women to go out and work as of their restrictions, what they have.
Okay, good. So they will not allow women to go out and work, correct? But they will allow women to work within the household. Very good point. They'll allow women to work, correct?
Yes,
can you do, for example, can you do, I recently heard, okay, today, in fact, somebody told me this beautiful case of this lady in a small village in Madhya Pradesh. Only today I heard it, so I'm telling you what I heard today, okay? This lady in a district called Betul in Madhya Pradesh was a daily wage worker, farm labor, she and her husband. She was getting beaten a lot. She decided to grow vegetables within the house, within her small yard. Today, you know how much she makes per month? 1 lakh. And she's going ahead and saying, other people, 5,000 women, she wants them to make 1 lakh. Isn't that fabulous? That is a rural skill set for a rural job. Correct?
Yes,
now you have to see is what are available there, what is available there, and then take it forward. So we are going to spend the next 20 minutes for each of you to tell me something innovative which you think as young people, if you went to rural areas, what is the skill set you will need in order for you to create jobs in rural areas and have skills, vocational training in rural areas for jobs. Is that okay? Are you in agreement? Can we spend any, you can come up with any shortfall which requires skill set. Tell me. Come on, guys. I want to hear your voice. Let's see now, let's hear the boys. Come. Go ahead.
Like I want to ask the previous question about the skill education and vocational that one. So I feel that vocational training means it's only based on skills, but education is like you give skills also and you tell the people to how to work, why you have to work. Here what can happen, skills are given but they can use it for any other purpose. But if good education is given to the people, like you can, skills are also given and you are telling them why you should do it, where you should use it. I feel that is the difference between these two concepts.
Now stay with that thought. Very good, very good. You know, you've heard of the national education. What's your name? What is your name?
Harish.
Harish, have you heard of national education policy?
Yes.
So the national education policy in India says by 2030, all education, all higher education, that means secondary education, higher education has to be vocationalized. Because India is a very unique problem. We have 1,000 plus universities, we have 700 plus districts, and we have the maximum educated unemployed, which means they are unemployable because they are not skilled. So what you said is absolutely correct, right? When you give education, give vocational skills simultaneously. So now, Harish, I want you to ask your friends who are sitting there at the back, you are going to be my representative because I'm not in your class. So Harish, you're going to be Gayathri here, okay? So ask them, what if there is a person who is doing 12th standard? Two cases, a boy doing 12th standard and a girl doing graduation, BA. Okay, what skill sets should we give in a rural school and a rural college for them to be useful, productive, employable citizens in rural areas? Ask. Similarly, I want the classroom on my right also. I'm going to call on somebody. Give me one name from the classroom on the right. I can see the boy who's in the middle of the screen. I'm going to pick on you. What's his name? What is your name? Yatish, do you know his name?
Venkatesh, the BP
Venkatesh.
group, can you speak?
Venkatesh, you are my representative for this classroom. You're going to ask two skill sets, two jobs in rural. Tell me, okay, I'm going to now break you up into 4 classrooms. I have 4 classrooms here, I think, okay? Take one village and tell me what skill set should we give for girls, for boys. Venkatesh.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Venkatesh. I'm not going to kill you. I'm a nice person. Smile, smile. You don't have to be so serious. Then it's very boring. Skilling is not boring. Skilling is a lot of fun.
Ma'am, by the time they think I have an idea here.
Great. Come. Tell me your name and then tell me. Otherwise, I can't get. Tell me your name and go ahead. Tell me. Come.
I'm Vidya.
Yeah, Vidya.
Poultry farms and animal husbandry can also help giving or getting jobs.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
This is because it takes a lot of skill in one large area, like looking after animals or how to feed them or knowing about their diseases and their products and how to like market them and the business in it. And there are many machinery to there are many machineries and milk products, many business, and also how to look after animals.
Very good. Now, Vidya, tell me 3 companies which are dealing with animal husbandry products. 3 companies, big companies.
Amul.
Okay, good.
Mysore Sweets.
Okay.
Nandini.
Licious. Have you heard of Licious? Have you heard of Suguna? Have you heard of Venki's Chicken? Now, look at the skill sets which are required and if you were to do it in rural areas. Okay, Vidya, I want you to think, saying what, like for example, how in that supply chain will you create skills so Vidya can work in a village in Bidar. Doing animal husbandry, if you were to be the person who is going to do the skilling as a BSc student, Vidya, I want you to think that angle, okay? Don't think a poor woman giving 1 chicken, 1 goat, 4 goat. Don't think like that. Think of the scientific skill sets which are required for market to respect you. Okay, Vidya?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, what happened mostly is if there's a single type of cow, which is a single species of cow which is present in one house, many people tend to follow the same thing. But as educated ones, we can know more information about which species give more milk, or in which climate or temperature those species won't get more diseases, and then maybe we can start a farm. And then by seeing us or getting inspired, if we go further, maybe others can also join us. I think knowing about more species can help us in this.
So Vidya, I'll give you a personal example, okay? When I was 24, I decided to go live in a village. And I thought I was educated enough to give knowledge. I found I didn't have the skill set. I had the knowledge, but not the skill set. So as a person who will have knowledge and who can get more knowledge, you also have to see if Vidya has to go, what skill set does she require to convince and to run it? And what are the 5 skill sets required to run this farm? Okay. I think Harish is ready. So let Harish come in now. Vidya, you think through this in your class. Okay, Venkatesh, you want to go? Okay, go ahead, Venkatesh.
I want to just add on to that point that as you told, the 5 essential things you said to be in society, but which we all like BPA boys thought is first thing which every person in the village or anywhere is taught or teach, that is communication skill, ma'am. Because without communication skill, nobody anyone cannot
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So maybe Venkatesh, think one further. Have you thought saying you can teach everybody to actually do filming? I was just talking this morning to this interesting person and saying, if you do filming, if a lot of people know, how do I take a video? How do I tell a story? How do I actually communicate? Communication is a skill set, right? Venkatesh, if it's a skill set, think how all you can teach and what skill sets are required to teach communication. I have heard people teach communication very boringly. Get up, stand up, talk loudly, keep your eyes up, you'll go to sleep. Correct? Street plays are interesting communications. How you talk with your eyes is interesting communication. How you're able to write a blog is interesting communication. How you're able to record is interesting communication. For example, I'll tell you a very interesting one yesterday. All of you have seen Kantara? Kantara, you've seen the movie? Look at where his ideas came from, Yakshagana. Right? So the communication is not just putting your idea out in the most creative manner and engaging the other person. So look at the skill sets which are required to give rural populations an idea of how am I going to communicate. It could be an artist. It could be a street artist. You'd be giving a job there. It could be a theater artist. They modulate their voices, you know. So good point, Venkatesh. Now see, there is a skill set required. So you as well as Yatish came up with a similar thought process, right? You said that education. So you're saying make education more engaging, communication more engaging. Good. Very good point. Loved it. But I want you to don't go back after this and say, Gayathri is gone. She's one old lady, spoke and went. After this, I'm going to give you homework. Go back and see how will you create skill training for communication to impart communication to rural children and youth. Will you do that? Venkatesh and team.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Harish.
Yes, ma'am.
Like I felt that when the education process is going on, implementation of as a university, we have implemented a course called self-development and communication, ma'am. In that, we are taught how to do plumbing work, how to do electricity work, and how to do audio video editing, and we also are taught how to do the Goshala work, like what kind of you see for the animals, what kind of medicines we have to give, and if the medicines are how it is going to react on the animals. All these are taught in our in this, yes, self developments and communication course. If we in the education time only, if we learn all this, so in future when we go to rural areas, we'll not have face any problems. We can do we can employ ourselves in any of these qualities what which I felt.
Perfect, Harish. Now, what I want you to do is take a village. Each one of you has come up with ideas, right? Look at services. Don't always look to see rural areas are poor, underprivileged areas. Look to see the data. I'll give you another example, okay? Recently, I was talking to somebody who said they wanted to change the way Google thinks. Make sense? Google thinks, no? Google writes before we write. When Google says doctor, what does Google say? He is a doctor. When Google says nurse, it says she is a nurse. So it is gendered. It's not necessary, you know, she can be a doctor, he can be a nurse. So they are collecting information in multiple languages. So anybody who can communicate could actually be giving, you are Google's, Google will pay you to talk. Imagine taking such jobs to rural areas. Data analytics, right? When you're saying data capture, data analytics. Where I'm coming from is anything which you're doing and people say it's high flying job, blah, blah, blah. Take it and say my 58% of the population in India is in rural areas. I'm going to change that. I don't want pity. I don't think our rural people want pity. They want people like you, which you very nicely, Venkatesh, Harish, as well as Vidya said. Change the norm. I often say this in everything I speak. How many of you think I can win a beauty contest? Aishwarya Rai beauty contest. Nobody, everybody is grinning. Ayyo, very sad. Look at what you're saying. I'm delusional. Correct? I can't compete against Aishwarya Rai. Correct? Change the rules of the game. I write my own rules. Plus 50, plus size, white hair. Change. Rule ko badal diya. I can also compete, no? No problem. I'll have another 50 people like me. I'll make the award and I'll win.
Yes,
Now everybody's saying yes. Huh? First, they were all feeling very shy to say, "Yo, Gayathri, look how bad she's looking. She can't compete against Aishwarya Rai." Huh? But now, I want you to change the rules of the game. Change. Change is essential. Right? And you will be the driver of that change. Don't say, okay, next time I come and talk to you, or next time you talk to somebody, don't say vocational training is tailoring and embroidery. Nothing wrong in it. Huh? Don't misunderstand me. But you will change. You will say rural roads will look different. Rural houses will look different. What you both said, communication will look different. You will have piped water supply. You will have electricity. You will do healthcare services in innovative ways in rural areas. I want you to think like that. Be the change. And that change is when you change the norms. Change the rules. Who creates rules? We create rules. Change the rules. You nicely said, right? In education, you want to do it. Every school adopt. How many of you are in between 3 classrooms? At least there is a significant number of you in this auditorium, or rather in my screen space. At least I'd say 180 of you are there. Imagine 180 change makers. All of you think innovatively. See the boy who's sitting next to Venkatesh. I can see his face. What is your name? Who's sitting on your right hand side, Venkatesh?
Ma'am, Mayur.
Mayur. Who's sitting on your left hand side? So each one of you, Mayur, Venkatesh, each one of you, think what is it that you're going to do? Skilling for yourselves. In order for you to change skilling in rural areas. First change is us. And then we will change skilling. We will define what is skilling in rural areas. Yes, Vidya?
Yes,
Possible, Vidya?
yes, ma'am.
So all of you, Harish, where I just know few people because I wish I could talk to all of you by your name. I like each one of you. I want to know your name because I want to know your ideas. What are your ideas? How do you think you're going to change skills in rural areas? When we think of rural skills, no, we'll be very sad. One tailoring, one electrician. Ayo, Papa. No, ayo, Papa. Same thing that we have access to, we have to give access to. Principally, you agree with me? How many people agree with me? Put up your hands. Great. Now, we will spend, I'll answer your questions in the next few minutes, but what I want you to think is, if this is possible, imagine what our villages are going to look like in 15 years with 150 to 300 change makers like you in the room. You will define skills. You will define how the change is to happen. You don't need anyone else. Possible? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Now I'm willing to answer questions from you. I've asked you to think. You can answer questions. You can put forward your ideas. Go ahead. Any questions, any ideas, anything? Harish, does your team want any ideas? Do you have any questions?
Not a question, ma'am. To add on to the point which you were telling last previously, but now we can see that medical education is becoming very costly nowadays because rural people are not able to access the medical education. So what, as we Prashanti Bal Mandir Trust has come out is that give a free medical education to rural people who deserves it. Like the people, we don't give people who are not deserving it. We identify the students and we give the free medical education to them, and they in turn go back to their own villages and they serve there. So this can in turn change the entire medical system which is there in rural area was what we.
And while you're doing this, as people, the university is doing this. My question to you is, the doctor is going to need a nurse. The doctor is not going to need patient care people there, which is skill training. So skill a set of people who can take care of the aged, who can take care of all the parties and the nannies and the tatas out there. They have people who can take care of infants, little babies, infant care after this. So think of skills which are related to medical education. Now, for example, if a scan has to be done, you don't have to go to the taluk headquarters. You can do it there. You need a lab technician. You need an X-ray. So think of the skills which is required to ensure healthcare is got to rural areas. Because the doctor who has got free education needs to earn money. He can't be giving free all the time. So you have to make an ecosystem for him or her to earn money. Correct? So very good point, Harish. So now build on that. How in healthcare can you create an ecosystem where everybody is able to earn money and therefore live a respectable life? Right? One doctor, assuming Vidya is the doctor, I'm just taking a name. That means Harish, Venkatesh, Mayur, etc. could be lab technicians, could be patient care. You need male, you need female in order for you to do it. Correct? So that single facility can create 10 jobs for which you need 10 skill sets. Think like that, okay?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead, ma.
I to this point, like how we had in ancient India, we always used to have a primary doctor into some severe diseases. So like such kind of, maybe we can train people to be such primary physicians before, to take care of, before the disease gets a bit serious. Or maybe he can suggest them to go to such and such hospital or to go out to cities to get themselves checked. Just an idea.
That's what you're saying is like a general practitioner, preventive healthcare also has to be there, which is jobs. Always think skills and jobs together. And always think of saying if 58% of my population is in rural India, how do I ensure 58% is productive? They can't be living only on land. So what services? Every country expands on the basis of services. Right? So please think through that and create your plans. Okay? So I'm going to log off now. I've had a great session with all of you. I've enjoyed it and I felt very bad I couldn't come, but I wanted to see you all face to face. As I said, I love to see all young people face to face, but I'm very thankful that you participated. So Harish, Venkatesh, Vidya, Mayur, Yatish, thank you for participating, and I'm hoping that each one of you in the classroom didn't just sit through and listen. Listening is very boring. I hated to listen when I was young. I used to go to sleep whenever somebody was giving me a lecture. So I hope I didn't make you sleep. My only intent is be the change, make the change, and you will have solutions. That's my commitment to you.
Definitely, ma'am. The whole session was fully interactive. And we have a few more questions that are coming in, ma'am. I'll be reading it. The very purpose of vocational training is to enhance the ability of unskilled. However, if you provide these skills to those who have no interest in developing the nations, but rather use it for selfish purpose, in the process, they might surprise others also. Are we not doing harm than good? Is it not better to develop a foundation of love for the nation, and top of it, can we add up the skills?
Absolutely, in a complete agreement. No education, vocational training or vocational education is part of education first and foremost. That means every one of us has to be skilled. Second is empathy and humanity has to be the bedrock of our being. If empathy and human values are not there, everything is a waste. We have not learned, right? As human beings, if we think everybody, that's why I said the rural as a poor, a rural as a separate class is wrong for me. There's no difference. It's just opportunity. Give the same opportunities, it will work. So in agreement with you, in agreement with what the question statement is, make it happen. And that will happen by practice, by doing.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is, conveying the organization's vision, even among the organized sector, is sometimes very difficult. But your team has taken it to the next level by conveying to even to the unorganized sector. How did you achieve that aspect? Like
I told you now, simple principle. I ask each one of my candidates, each one of my colleagues to say, think creatively. Don't think in a straight line. I don't do much. I only talk like this. But what I do is I ask you, think creatively. Mayur, can you think creatively? I am sure Mayur can. Then Mayur will come back with 4 ideas which he will implement. I don't have to do. Right? Because it's Mayur's ideas, it's Mayur's forward. So when you're thinking of unorganized, they are in an unorganized sector simply because of no opportunity. Now, if I tell somebody in the organized sector to work with somebody in the unorganized sector, both will be symbiotic. Each will learn from the other. Mayur will learn from the rickshaw puller. Mayur will learn from the person who is the farmer who is growing sunflower. He will learn from somebody who is having fish in a paddy farm. This symbiotic. That is the only way that we will spread knowledge and skill set and create money. Money is job. Money is earning, and learning has to be linked to earning for organized or unorganized. It's for us to organize the unorganized. That's what I mean.
The next question is that in the name of rural development, villages have been urbanized today,
Correct.
which is causing a lot of climate changes. And how do we develop village without damaging? This question comes on your talk of, you have spoken on both how to improve the climate change by solving the migration problem. So can you?
I completely, like for example, I don't think every factory which goes to the rural area, or if we do a data analytics center, needs to have the same infrastructure. I've never understood why in a country like India, do we have so much glass panel and therefore again we put light inside. Why? We are saying cows, why are we not using biogas all the time? Why are we not using solar panels more? Why don't we change the designs of our buildings? We don't have to have buildings like this. So in rural areas, taking care of all the small ponds is very important. Having greenery consistently is very important. Don't degrade to create buildings like urban areas to have cells, cement block cells. Think creatively. That's what I mean, don't replicate the mistakes which have happened in urban areas. Create a new world in the rural area which is not self-harming. Okay. I've got to go now. So Yatish, I'm going to step out of this. Thank you so much for having me talk to each one of you. It's been a real pleasure. I hope you will not leave this as a class and you're going to think creatively. Feel free to write to me at any time. You want to discuss any ideas, just take my number from Yatish and go ahead and communicate with me, okay? I'm available. I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on WhatsApp, right? I'm happy to discuss your thoughts, your ideas, and that's what will make the unorganized organized. All right.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Last 1 hour has been really a booster for all of us for next endeavor in shouldering our responsibility on rural development. Not only recently we had a university convocation where the more than 70% of the people coming from the rural areas, and they are the first graduation of their families. So this, again, not only that, I'll be very happy to share you that all those who have graduated from the first batch have come back to institution to serve the institution in the rural areas. That is where the institution is being very unique in itself by taking children from the rural area, training them and sending back them to rural areas to address that what you said in your talk, that many of the rural children who are getting educated are moving to cities. So now this problem is also addressed where the model of Sarkar, Samaj and Samsa is being brought in. The government helping and the society and other side the institution, all three working in hand. It is a three-tier model of Sadhguru. Is implemented in all our campuses and all our institutions, which is really making a lot of impact on rural children. And we are really thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful time, and you made the whole session so much.
Thank you so much.
Come to our campus, Ali.
I will definitely. I'll come.
We'll invite you to come to our campus. Sure, ma'am. Sure. We'll end the session with prayer, ma'am. Sahana bhavatu Sahano bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai Tejasvinamaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.